Hi, Redbud families. Um, so while we're not recreating a Montessori classroom at home by any means, there are lots of things that you can do with your children and that you can set up for your children to work on while you're home. And so this is just me going to give you a rapid fire list of ideas and show you some of them so that if you're wanting to have some activities out for your child to do while you're educating during social distancing, you can kind of see what we have on the shelf here and then modify it with the things that you have at home so your child can continue to do the similar work. So some of the things that I sent in an email were things like pouring. And so you see we have just a small tray and there's 2 small cups. They don't have to be the same if you don't have matching cups at home, but if you do, you can. And inside are just some lentils, some red lentils. See? And so with this work, the young child will just pour back and forth. You can hear the slight sound of them hitting each other, and it's very soothing. It helps aids with control and coordination of movement and concentration. If they spill, which they will, they just use these pincher fingers to pick up the lentils and put them back in the cups. And that's going to help later with their grasp of a pen or pencil or crayons and writing utensils. So that's pouring rain. It could be lentils, it could be beans, it could be pasta, it could be anything that you have at home, rice, salt. And then here's one with water. Everyone loves water work. And so it's similar setup. It's just a small tray. If you don't have a tray, you can just have the workout, just the pitcher and the cup or something. And the child is just going to pour the water in and then pour it back, in and back. And these are things you can just have out. They're very familiar with them. They'll know right away probably what to do. But if they've forgotten, you can show them. Another thing you could use if you have tongs at home. This is just a small dish of beans. And the child can use the tongs to pinch and transfer the beans to the next dish. And it can be a challenge for a young child, something that can keep their concentration for quite a while if they're interested. So if you happen to have chopsticks or tongs or something like this, this is just like that. But if not, that's okay too. You can use a spoon, a small spoon, and then we have that workout in the classroom usually too, and the child will scoop with the spoon and transfer the grain or the beans or whatever it is. Yeah. Another thing I wanted to show you, this is just a dish with some nuts and bolts inside. So you might have some of these at your house, and the child just practices this turning motion. They're using those fingers to twist and turn. It's control and coordination of movement, fine motor skills, all of those things, concentration. And they would take the bolt, the nut off the bolt, and then try to put it back. Whoops. Hopefully you wouldn't do that. And then you turn it back on. So that's something you can have out on a shelf too that the child might be interested in doing. Another thing is just a tray with paper. These are just a few designs, and the child can try to cut along the lines with child-sized scissors. So if you have some scissors, and you can make different designs on the paper, and then the child will just try to encourage them to follow the black line with their scissors. That's something that's easy to put out and that the children enjoy working on. Another thing, opening and closing containers. So this is just a basket full of different types of containers. It might be the kind that you send for lunch. They could practice opening those. This is just a glasses case with a snap on it. And it's very satisfying for a young child to open and close, and also practical life. They're going to need to know how to twist and zip. So try to find just a variety of things they could open and close. There's a little salt shaker with a tiny lid. There's a treasure trunk with a little latch. They can latch. There's this tea thing. Opening and closing that. There's something with a button, like a little pouch with a small button to clasp. So you can find things around your house. That's literally what these things are. They're like lunch containers salt shakers, glasses cases, things that were left over. And then the child can, if you put them together, the child can have an opening and closing work. And then some other quick ideas. Magnetic and non-magnetic. So these are just the words, magnetic, non-magnetic. And then in this basket are some things that are magnetic and non-magnetic. There's a little wagon. There's a bottle cap. Show you a safety pin. There's a little wooden roller thing. It's not magnetic. There's some things that look like they might be magnetic, but they're actually not. So that's kind of an interesting challenge. A button like you'd wear on your jacket or sweater or something. A tiny spoon. And so if you have a magnet, the child can experiment. It's really fun for them. And if you want to make labels, you can, or you can just have the child offer it for the child to work with. So that's another easy one to do at home if you have a magnet. And then this one's just rough and smooth. Like it's a basket with rough and smooth things. And they're just using their senses. They're in a sensitive period for sensorial learning. And they're feeling rough and smooth and then classifying it, right? So if you have labels on a piece of paper, they can order the rough and smooth. You can do this with living and non-living too if you have some small objects. Rough and smooth. Yeah. So just different things that they could experiment with. And then one more thing, sewing a button. So if you have a needle and some cloth and some buttons, a lot of the children are working on how to sew a button onto a piece of cloth. And that's another thing you could work on as a practical life skill. So that was just a few suggestions of things that you might have for playing around the house that you could put in a basket or in a tray or on a shelf and that the child could work with independently, in addition to things like markers and paper or a coloring book or a puzzle. All right, thanks.